Who likes winter? The weather at the temple nowadays is comfortable. For those who like winter. Strong. Howling winds in the early morning. We can't practice half-heartedly. Practicing now and then. Practicing just a little, and then going off to play around with this and that. For a long time. This doesn't work. If we really want to get the most benefit out of our practice, we need to be determined and practice. Those who practice determinedly get their reward. And when they report their homework, I am pleased. Many people just practice casually, without determination. If you're not determined, you will either attain nothing or maybe just some spiritual merit. There is one woman who practices with determination. Previously, she had to work so late. To take care of her businesses, home and family. After she finished her work, she would practice from 11 p.m. till 1 a.m. She told me that through this COVID-19 pandemic, she has needed to work even harder for her businesses to survive. She needs to work till midnight. On her businesses and for the household. Yet, she practiced patiently. This is a good example. Yesterday, she reported her homework. Listening to her, I was pleased and happy with her. She has progressed. Nothing comes for free. There are no accidents. Everything falls under the law of karma. Generating this cause, we will lead to this corresponding effect. Generating that cause, we will result in that other type of effect. If we practice correctly and enough, it will bring about a delightful result. If we practice incorrectly and diligently, that is even worse. To put it in perspective, if one practices incorrectly despite being diligent, one will be significantly off track. Some people practice in an over-focused manner, and do so diligently, day and night, for years. This is difficult to fix because they have become addicted to it. So, I would tell them, now you don't need to do anything. They are too intense, I can't fix them. So, I tell them to practice samadhi but to also have awareness. And don't let the mind enter non-form jhana. If they do so, then until such time the next Buddha attains enlightenment, they will have no chance to listen to Buddha's Dharma. If one is addicted to intense over-focusing, I won't fix them as it will be risky. Some are addicted to intense over-focusing, and when they can come out of it, they will have very strong emotions. So, the first group practices still an over-focusing samadhi. They practice incorrectly but diligently. If I'm to assign him points, they will be given negative points, high negative points. Practicing incorrectly and lazily may sound bad. Those who practice incorrectly sporadically, lazily. These people will get low minus points, not high minus points. When they can practice samadhi correctly, their minds will become the knower mind, so they can be fixed. Another group practices samadhi correctly, but infrequently. They practice correctly but they are lazy. Their good samadhi is on and off, so it soon deteriorates. Are they good? Yes, good. They get some points, low positive points. They practice now and then, so they get a few points. They practice correctly. For example, they practice samatha, calmness meditation, by inclining their minds to be with one meditation object continually. When their minds are calm, then they go surf Facebook, Line, IG, or get caught up in this or that. This group receives some points. When they practice, they get some points. When they are lost, they get lots of minus points, because they are lost for a long time each day. After averaging it out, they end up receiving only a few positive points. The last group practices correctly and diligently. I give them bonus points. They are the best. If one practices incorrectly but diligently, they receive big minus points. On the contrary, if one practices correctly and diligently, they receive big positive points. Therefore, we need to learn to understand how to practice. After listening to and understanding is when we practice. And when we practice, we need to notice if our practice is in line with the practice's principles. For instance, when we practice samatha, are we craving calmness? Samadhi begins when intention ends. If we are greedy, for example, we intend to calm the mind, it won't be calm. Notice as we want to practice calmness samadhi, why it is that the more we practice the more tense we become. Notice carefully, where does it go wrong? It goes wrong from when we start to think about doing something. When we think about doing something, then we force ourselves, our bodies, our minds, then we become tense. Therefore, when practicing, investigate carefully, having listened to the teacher's teachings. Allow the mind to remain at a pleasing meditation object, continually, and in a relaxed manner. Don't be greedy, don't stress, don't overfocus, or else the mind won't be happy. When we overfocus, our minds are not happy. It will get stressed, and samadhi will not occur. I am referring to the good samadhi. According to the scriptures, it is stated that samadhi co-arises with every mind. But we don't talk about nonsense samadhi, we talk about good samadhi. There are two types of good samadhi, calmness samadhi, and calm and rooted in awareness samadhi, for wisdom cultivation. To practice calmness samadhi, we need to be wise, and know that if we are to allow the mind to remain with a meditation object, choose the meditation object. That will make the mind happy, and stay with that meditation object, without greed, and without wanting it to be calm. If we want it to be calm, we will force the mind or control the mind, resulting in the mind not being calm. Rather, it will be stressful. For instance, I like to practice anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. I'm used to it as I've been practicing it since I was a child. When I want to rest, when I want my mind to be calm, I breathe. Breathe in, chant, put, breathe out, chant, do. Regardless of whether the mind is calm or not. After practicing like that for a while, the mind will be calm, because the mind likes to be aware of the breath. There was this one time when I got tricked by my practice. My mind wasn't truly rooted in awareness yet. It was bright but actually it was off base. It was happy, calm and comfortable. It had been like that for a long time. I tried to notice what went wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. When I had the chance to visit Wat Pa Ban Tat Temple, I went to see Venerable Ajahn Mahabua. At that time, not many people visited him, so it was easy for me to reach him. I asked, I practice. My master told me to see the mind, so I practiced to see the mind. However, I've noticed that it isn't progressing. He glanced at me once and replied, though you say that you see the mind, you can't really see the mind. You must believe me, this is important. I've been through this myself. Nothing can compare to chanting. I then paid my respects and moved to the back. He was eating, so I sat about 1 meter away. Then, I started chanting, Buddho, Buddho, Buddho. However, my mind didn't like it, even though the master said that Buddho was the best. I revered him but noticed that the more I chanted, Buddho, the tighter my mind became. I realized that my mind didn't like it. Why did he ask me to chant, Buddho? It meant that my samadhi wasn't strong enough. So, I thought, what was the reason? Why he told me to chant, Buddho? Because my samadhi wasn't strong enough. Thus, I needed to practice calmness samadhi, thus, sitting by his side. I practiced breathing in, chanting put, breathing out, chanting do. I needed to also be aware of the breath for the mind to be pleased. I took in a few breaths and my mind went calm. So, I knew that I had wasted 1 whole year for nothing, as my mind had gotten stuck in emptiness and light. It was stuck with opasa, or illumination. My mind had attached to the light, and it was happy. So, I relied on the master to point out my mistake. That is, I couldn't reach my mind. He said that, and told me to chant, Buddho. However, I investigated, and found out that Buddho didn't suit me, so I practiced with the meditation objects that were suitable for me. Venerable Master Dune was an amazing teacher. We shouldn't compare him to Venerable Ajahn Mahabua. Because so many people went to see Venerable Ajahn Mahabua, he didn't have time to assess each person individually. That's why his teachings were of how he practiced. When I went to learn with Venerable Master Dune, no one visited him daily. People thought he wasn't a meditating monk, but just a senior monk living in a city temple, being a Chao Kun. He mustn't know how to practice. However, I knew his life history. He was a teacher of Venerable Ajahn Phun Ajaro. Even Somdev Phra Vajira Yana Samvara revered him. I knew this. Therefore, he must be very good. So, I went to learn with him. When visiting Venerable Master Dune to inquire about meditation, he would not reply right away. He would examine the suitable Dharma for us. It took time, and could take almost an hour in some cases. In my case, it took him almost an hour, during which he sat still with his eyes closed. I thought, he's just eaten. He's almost 100 years old. He just had breakfast, guess he must have fallen asleep already. While waiting, I meditated. I thought he had fallen asleep. I knew later that he hadn't really fallen asleep. He examined my past meditation history, how I had practiced in the past, in order to tell me how to build on that. Therefore, Venerable Master Dune was the kind of teacher that taught each disciple differently. If a disciple practiced as per his advice, he would progress quickly. If a disciple didn't practice as per his advice, he wouldn't progress and it would be hard to progress. For instance, there was a layman who later on ordained. His name was Venerable Kun. When he was a layman, he liked to practice at Hien Mak Peng Temple. Before then, Venerable Master Dune taught him to contemplate on a single strand of hair. Only one strand of hair, not more than that. Venerable Kun, upon hearing that, felt saddened. Venerable Master Dun had taught other students a lot of other things. Exciting things. So, why was the master teaching him to contemplate on a single strand of hair? He didn't believe the master. He went back to practice at the Hien Mak Peng temple for an entire rains retreat. While meditating, he tried using his mind to burn his body as his mental image, just like practicing kasina, visual object. So, he tried to burn his body again and again. When other people practiced this, they could burn their entire bodies. But Venerable Kun couldn't. His body was only slightly burned. One day, while practicing sitting meditation, he transported his mind out of his body and rose above the Kung River. When he looked down at the Hien Mak Peng temple, the temple disappeared. When he looked down at Udonthani province, the province disappeared. When he looked down at Vientiane province, the province disappeared. Then, he thought, oh, this must be Nibbana. Everything becomes sunyata, emptiness. Everything disappears. He returned and reported back to Venerable Master Dun that he had attained a high level of Dharma, reaching sunyata. Venerable Master Dun then said, "What kind of Nibbana rises above the Kung River?" Venerable Dun knew right away that he hadn't attained anything. The truth was that his mind had entered samadhi, and whatever he looked at would disappear. But he didn't come back to seeing himself. He only looked out to sea, the Hien Mak Peng temple, Udonthani province, Vientiane province, etc. But his mind didn't see itself. Therefore, this kind of Nibbana is not true Nibbana. It's empty as the mind gets stuck in emptiness. Upon learning that, he then practiced by contemplating on a single strand of hair, as he didn't know how else to practice. So, he observed a strand of hair. The hair had a shape like this, a color like this, a smell like this. It wasn't clean, it's dirty, it's repulsive as Su-Pa. So, he contemplated a single hair over and over, and finally his mind became calm and entered the correct samadhi. He went back to see Venerable Dun, who then taught him how to cultivate wisdom. After a period, Venerable Kun progressed, succeeded, and became a meditation master. When Venerable Dun was still alive, in Suran province there were two famous disciples of Venerable Dun's, that is, Venerable Kun and Venerable Gim. Venerable Kun was at Na Ruin Jam temple. Venerable Gim was at Pa Dong Ku temple. When Venerable Dun was about to pass away, I asked him who I should go to learn further with. He told me to go to learn with Venerable Gim, so I kept in mind that I must go to learn with Venerable Gim. Venerable Kun's teachings emphasized calmness, samadhi, and supernatural powers. For instance, when he glanced at 50 people in the Dharma hall, he knew all of their minds. Venerable Gim was different. When I went to meditate with him, I became apprehensive. They chanted evening mantras at 6 p.m. Then, they practiced sitting meditation. I thought it would be like other temples, that is, to practice just for a short while. However, they practiced sitting meditation until 11 p.m. without moving. At 3 a.m., they rang a bell, and practiced sitting meditation again until dawn. Seeing that, oh, my goodness! I sat and my whole body ached all over. I had never sat on a floor for such a long period of time. In that case, I would normally sit on a chair. So, I noticed how other monks practiced. They just sat and slept. So, they could sit for hours, sitting and sleeping. But to sit and practice awareness is torture. Thus, to succeed, each monk must practice industriously. No flukes, no accidents, such as Venerable Kun and Venerable Gim. Venerable Kun passed away first, and soon after that Venerable Gim passed away. Then, It was known among the insiders that we needed to go to learn further with Venerable Pa Nuek, so I went to see Venerable Pa Nuek at Ban Kwao. Venerable Pa Nuek ordained when he was 60 years old. He ordained at an old age. However, he persevered with meditation in a determined manner. I've learned the life history of each successful meditation master. The monks that take a rest in the morning, take a nap at noon, rest again in the afternoon and sleep all night. I have never seen any of them succeed. Each successful meditation master fought vigorously. Therefore, we need to practice correctly and diligently to succeed. Hearing this, don't panic. Oh, my goodness. We need to practice sitting meditation, 5 to 6 hours in a row. In some places they sit for 10 hours. Or till dawn. Once I read the life history of a master. He was so resolute that when he practiced sitting meditation, he would not get up. He sat on a bamboo-cleaved bed. As and when he sat, the bamboo cleaves would sink in and pinch his buttock painfully. However, he was resolute and would not get up until dawn. He bore the pain. He wouldn't give up and run away. If this were us, we would be thinking, oh, better move somewhere else. Sitting here, there are a lot of mosquitoes. Better move somewhere else. This can be referred to as practicing like a mangy dog. How does a mangy dog behave? I'm not making this up. This is from the scriptures. A mangy dog ran about between the monks' huts looking for a place to stay. Being at one hut, it got itchy and kept scratching. It thought, this place isn't good. So, it ran to another place. There it felt itchy, kept scratching, and then ran around here and there. It came to the Buddha's hut, felt itchy and ran away. This is referred to as the mangy dog meditation. The heart isn't determined. Thinking that the problems are from the outside, not knowing that the problems are actually in our hearts. Once we know the practice principles, we need to practice with determination. For practicing calmness meditation, practice staying with a pleasing meditation object continually, without the wanting for calmness. If we are with want, we are greedy. Then, the mind will not be calm since it won't be happy. Happiness is the proximate cause of samadhi. When our mind is already happy and calm, don't get stuck there. We need to develop ourselves to progress to the wisdom cultivation level. Calmness generates energy. When the mind is calm and bright, it gains energy and is refreshed. However, if we get stuck here, then we are not getting anywhere. We will need to wait for the next Buddha to attain enlightenment, by learning with him. If we would like to cultivate wisdom, we need to upgrade our samadhi, from calmness samadhi to rooted in awareness samadhi. For instance, if we normally practice breathing in and chanting put, breathing out and chanting do, and our mind is calm, bright, and wanders out to attach to the light, or the breath disappears and light appears instead. By staying in this state we will attain calmness samadhi. If we would like to cultivate wisdom, we need to practice to attain the rooted in awareness samadhi. To do so, meditate with the same meditation object we normally use. However, we need to adjust our attention a little. Instead of being aware of the meditation object, for example, being aware of the breath or light, we practice to be aware of our own mind. In doing so, we breathe in and chant put, breathe out and chant do, and then, when the mind escapes to think about something else, be aware of it. Then, start over, come back to breathing in and chanting put, breathing out and chanting do. If the mind wanders to the breath or the light, be aware of it. Let the mind be the lead character, not the meditation object. If we let the meditation object be the lead character, we will attain calmness samadhi. If we let the mind be the lead character, we will attain the rooted in awareness samadhi. Therefore, we practice with our usual meditation object, use the one we're adept at, and let the mind be the lead character. For instance, if we practice Venerable Tian's rhythmic hand movements, while moving our hands, If the mind escapes to think, just know it. If the mind wanders to a hand, just know it. If it focuses at the hand, just know it. If we practice to be aware of the rise and fall of the abdomen with the mind that is rooted in awareness, and isn't attached to the abdomen, we can cultivate wisdom. However, if we practice to be aware of the rise and fall of the abdomen, we have the rise and fall of the abdomen as our meditation object. If the mind attaches to the abdomen, we will attain calmness samadhi. If the mind lacks mindfulness, it will become miccha samadhi. If we have mindfulness, it will be calmness samadhi. Whenever we lose mindfulness, it will become miccha samadhi immediately. The right samadhi must always incorporate the right mindfulness. If we practice to be aware of the rise and fall of the abdomen, and the mind wanders to focus on the abdomen, if we have mindfulness, it is calmness samadhi and the mind will gain energy to attain the rooted in awareness samadhi. If we observe the abdomen, if the mind wanders to the abdomen, be aware of it. If the mind drifts away to someplace else, be aware of it. Then, the mind will become rooted in awareness. We will attain the rooted in awareness samadhi. The rooted in awareness samadhi is the starting point for us to be able to separate the aggregates out. To separate the aggregates is the most basic level of wisdom cultivation. If we can't separate the aggregates, we can't cultivate wisdom. Be aware of this. How do we separate the aggregates? We need to be able to separate the mind and objects. If we can, we will see that all aggregates are known things and are objects. The mind is the one that knows these objects. Thus, we must separate the mind from objects. The objects are either forms or non-forms. That's all there is as far as the principles are concerned. Separate the mind to be the knower. The knower does not attach to objects, and does not wander off anywhere else. Meaning, the mind is not lost, nor focusing. At the same time, the object can be either form or non-form. Because we are looking to practice vipassana. To practice vipassana, we observe form and non-form objects. For instance, we observe the body, feelings, the wholesome or unwholesome states that arise in the mind. Consciousness, that is, the consciousness that arises at the 6 sense doors. To observe our body, we see the body breathe out, see the body breathe in, with the mind as the knower. Being able to see that the body and the mind are not the same thing, means we can separate aggregates already. While sitting, we see that the body is sitting, and the mind is the one that is aware of the body sitting. The mind and the body are two separate things. This means we can separate aggregates already. However, if while sitting or breathing, the mind wanders to the breath, or to focus on the whole body, this is just calmness samadhi. And if we lack mindfulness, it will become the wrong samadhi. If the mind becomes the knower, if it sees that the breathing body is a known thing, if it sees that the body that is standing, walking, sitting, lying down, is a known thing, if it sees that the body that is moving, being still, is a known thing, if it sees that the body is just substance or elements, that is, while doing elements meditation, and the mind is the knower, this means the mind can cultivate wisdom. At this stage, it is not vipassana yet. However, aggregates begin to separate out. Seeing that body and mind are separate things, feelings and mind are separate things, good or bad formations and the mind are separate things, consciousness that arises and ceases at the 6 sense doors is a known thing, and the mind establishes as the knower. However, when consciousness arises at an eye, the knower mind will cease. Because consciousness and mind are the same thing, and thus it can arise only one at a time. Therefore, as and when the mind that wanders out to perceive arises, the knower mind ceases. Then, the mindful mind will arise, to cognize the mind that had just wandered out to perceive. The wandering to perceive mind will then cease. The knower mind will then arise. Thus, the mind arises and ceases repeatedly. It takes turns arising one after another, and the knower mind will arise in between, again and again. For instance, as and when the mind wanders out to sea, there is no knower mind. Then, the knower mind will arise to cognize the seeing mind. As and when the mind wanders out to hear, there is no knower mind, but only the hearing mind. Then, when mindfulness arises, the hearing mind will cease and the knower mind will arise. So, the mind takes turns arising one by one in this manner. The Buddha taught that the mind arises and ceases quickly. As and when one mind arises, another mind ceases, all day, all night. There can't be two minds occurring at the same time. Therefore, if a mind arises at an eye, there is no mind arising at the mind itself. A knower mind is a mind arising at the mind itself. There are many kinds of minds that arise at the mind itself. There is only one kind of mind arising at an eye, a seeing mind. Only one kind of mind arises at an ear, a hearing mind. Only one kind of mind arises at a nose, a smelling mind. Only one kind of mind arises at the tongue, a tasting mind. However, many kinds of minds can arise at the mind itself, and those can be wholesome or unwholesome. It can be the most wholesome kind, the knower mind. The scripture refers to the knower mind as the great wholesome mind, Mahakasala Chitta, with wisdom, Jnana Sampayutam, and without intention for it to arise, a Sankarikam. If we intend to make it arise, then that mind is of poor quality. However, there are some people who study the scriptures but do not meditate, so they can't see the difference between each kind of mind. If we have meditated and experienced the knower mind, we will see its characteristics. This mind is of great wholesomeness, with lightness, malleability, wieldiness, proficiency. It's quick and not lazy. Rectitude, it knows objects in a straightforward manner. That is, it simply knows and does not interfere. These are the characteristics of a wholesome mind, that which is neither greedy, angry, nor deluded. All these are not enough. It has to arise unprompted as well. If we intend to create the knower mind, that knower mind will be of low quality. The good knower mind arises on its own, spontaneously. Why does it arise? Because we have mindfulness to cognize the lost mind. When the mind is lost to see, we know it. When the mind is lost to hear, we know it. When the mind is lost to think, we know it. Then, as a result, the knower mind will arise. The mind arises one at a time. When there is a lost mind, there is no knower mind. When there is the knower mind, there is no lost mind. As simple as that. However, as it's subtle, it's difficult to see. At the beginning, every once in a while we will see a state. When we become adept, we will see phenomena very frequently. So, keep practicing. It's not beyond an ordinary human being's ability to do it. The Buddha's Dharma is the Dharma that is appropriate for human beings to practice. When the Buddha gave a sermon at Tavatimsa heaven for his mother, he didn't teach the same way that we teach nowadays. He taught about the ultimate truth, Dharma, Paramatta Dharma, and not about humans, animals, us, them, etc. It was only about Dharma phenomena. That kind of Dharma is for deities. For us, we also need to talk about the Jataka stories, and to give some examples. Otherwise, we won't understand. Therefore, we ought to practice observing. When the mind wanders out and we see it, the knower mind will arise. Or when the mind is angry and we are aware of it, the angry mind will cease, and the knower mind will arise on its own. When happiness arises and we feel it, we will see that the happiness is being known, and the knower mind has arisen. Once the knower mind has arisen, we will see the pair of mind and object. Whenever a mind exists, an object exists. Whenever an object exists, a mind exists. Even at the moment of enlightenment, with Nibbana being an object, there must be the mind that gets enlightened. These are referred to as Magga Chitta and Phala Chitta. If one passes out and thinks that he has attained enlightenment, that's just false enlightenment. That's just Asaññāsata Rama. So, we need to distinguish one from the other. Therefore, the mind and the object come in pairs. However, for Vipassana, the objects must be either form or non-form. If we have a form or non-form object and also the knower mind, then we will see the three characteristics of existence. When we begin to see forms, non-forms, and the knower mind demonstrate the three characteristics of existence, we begin to do Vipassana. For example, when we practice sitting meditation, observing the body breathing out and the body breathing in, with the mind as the knower, at this point, it's an initial stage wisdom. It's an overlapping zone between the calm mind and the initial wisdom developing mind. We see the body breathing in, and the body breathing out, and wisdom arises. That is, we realize that the body breathing out and breathing in is impermanent, anicca, that the body breathing in is under oppression, and the body breathing out is also under oppression, meaning they are suffering, dukkha, that they are not us, not ours, but rather just substance, with some elements flowing in and some elements flowing out, breathing in and breathing out. The body is merely a mass of elements, not human, not animal, not us, not them. This means we see non-self, anatta. If we can see the anicca, dukkha, anatta of the body, seeing the three characteristics of existence, this means we progressed to true vipassana. Or if we can see happiness and suffering arise, exist and cease, demonstrating anicca, dukkha, anatta, this means we are doing vipassana. However, if while we are doing sitting meditation, the mind is happy and drowned in happiness, that is samatha, not vipassana. If we see that happiness and mind are different things, this is initial stage wisdom, not vipassana. But if we can see that happiness is anicca, dukkha, anatta, and the mind that acknowledges the happiness is anicca, dukkha, or anatta, no matter which aspect is seen first, then at this stage we've progressed to vipassana. Or if we can see greed, anger, and delusion arise. Some people say, when anger arises, I see it. When anger arises, if we know it, this is aggregate separation, that is, to separate mental formation from the mind. This is not vipassana, but just initial stage wisdom. However, if we can see that anger arises on its own, and falls away, and that it is impermanent, suffering, and non-self, to really see it, not to think about it, that is, to see, not to think about the three characteristics of existence. To think about the three characteristics is not vipassana. However, in the beginning, some people need to use thought to lead the mind first, and then later on the mind will be able to see. When the mind can really see, it has progressed to vipassana. In the early stages of vipassana, if our samadhi is not strong enough, if our samadhi deteriorates while doing vipassana, defilements of insight vipassanupakalesa will occur, such as illumination, opasa. One may see that the entire universe is illuminated and empty. Case in point, when I went to see Venerable Ajahn Mahabua to seek his advice on how to fix my meditation, I was experiencing the illumination, which was a defilement of insight. It was because my samadhi at that time wasn't strong enough. Thus, he told me to practice samadhi. Then, when I practiced calmness samadhi, and attained the rooted in awareness mind, the defilement of insight ceased immediately. Therefore, when we practice vipassana, we can't neglect calmness samadhi. If we neglect calmness samadhi and if our samadhi is not strong enough, defilement of insight will occur immediately. Therefore, when we have time, practice calmness samadhi, alternating with mindfulness cultivation and wisdom cultivation. When we need to rest, breathe in and chant put, breathe out and chant do, or any meditation object for that matter, to allow the mind to be calm, bright, relaxed, energized, and rooted in awareness. And then, we can cultivate wisdom further. In the beginning, we will see phenomena arise and cease, demonstrating anicca, dukkha, anatta. However, when samadhi deteriorates and defilement of insight occurs, then be aware of the defilement of insight. At this point, come back to observe form and non-form arise and cease further. With the mind that has enough samadhi, the mind will progress step by step. Finally, it will attain equanimity towards all kinds of form and non-form phenomena. Happiness and suffering, good and evil, will seem equal. All phenomena will be seen as equals, in terms of the three characteristics of existence. This is a result of the fully matured vipassana practice. The mind will merely see or know. Eventually, the mind will get enlightened. Therefore, we need to try to practice. Calmness samadhi can't be neglected, we must practice it as well. We need to investigate ourselves. Which kind of meditation is suitable for us? What is the kind of meditation object that, when we practice, helps us cultivate mindfulness, and that which the mind is happy with, then practice with it. While practicing, if the mind is stressed, just investigate because it must be wrong. If the mind is stressed, it will not be calm. It's stressful because it is greedy, wanting to be good, or calm, just know it. When the mind is not greedy, the mind is relaxed. Then, when we practice with a meditation object for a short while, when the mind is calm and energized, then observe that the meditation object is being known, such as the body breathing out and breathing in, instead of letting the breath or the light be the lead character. Let the mind be the lead character. Be aware of the body breathing with the mind as the knower. Be aware of the body standing, walking, sitting, lying down, with the mind as the knower. Be aware of the body stretching out or folding, etc., with the mind as the knower. Later on, however the body is, we will see that it falls under the three characteristics of existence. Happiness and suffering in the body also fall under the three characteristics of existence. Happiness, suffering and equanimity of the mind also fall under the three characteristics of existence. Wholesome mind and unwholesome mind, no wholesome, unwholesome body, also fall under the three characteristics of existence. Greed, anger and delusion arise and cease, and they also fall under the three characteristics of existence. The mind itself also falls under the three characteristics of existence, as sometimes the mind is the knower, sometimes the thinker, then the knower, then the one who sees form, then the knower, then the one who hears sound. To see the three characteristics of existence in this manner, we are doing vipassana. After doing vipassana for a while, the mind will be exhausted. Then, we need to stop. Don't force yourself to go on with vipassana. We need to stop and then practice samatha, or calmness meditation for the mind to be energized. Then, we can cultivate wisdom further. If we practice a lot in this manner, not lazily or sporadically, if we can practice every day, as much as we can, we may be able to attain the path and the fruit in this lifetime. No need to wait for the next life. If we practice incorrectly, or if we practice correctly but are lazy, we will not attain it any time soon. It'll take a long time. It's fair. The law of karma is always fair. That's it for today.
Number 1. Luangpu told me to observe the mind that was not rooted in awareness and the big ego. I saw the attachment and the one that is prone to arguing. At first, I was confused. The defilements were strong. For formal meditation, I practiced walking meditation and chanting a mantra. I could see that my mind had many outlets. Sometimes it's easy to practice, sometimes it isn't. When the mind is powerful, it'll be rooted in awareness and the aggregates separate out by themselves, and I saw the mind withdraw from aggregates. However, it deteriorates. I have more faith. Is there anything wrong or anything I lack, Venerable Master?
Do you notice that you still control your mind? You still hold it. Don't do it. As long as you control it, the correct samadhi will not occur. Because the mind is tight and unhappy. Happiness is the proximate cause of samadhi. Therefore, when we practice, if we are not happy, it means we are greedy. We want too much, want to be good, happy, calm, or want to know, to see, to be, to get something. Just be aware of the desirous mind. When the desire ceases, then go on with your practice. Practice with your meditation object. The mind will be light and clear, and the knower mind will arise. Otherwise, the mind will be focusing. You need to adjust your mind to be correct, and you will progress. Your practice is good and has progressed. Previously, you had a big ego. Are you aware of that? No one loves a big ego person. They don't like it because they feel uncomfortable when they are near. If we practice, we will reduce and let go of our attachments to opinions. We will reduce our ego. We will be nicer. And will have more friends. We will be happier wherever we are. Therefore, we practice to be aware of our own mind. Practice every day but not to be greedy. Eventually, the mind will gain energy. When the mind is energized, then practice like what I just taught, to separate the aggregates out, and to observe that body and mind are different things. Next, you will see the 3 characteristics of existence. Number 2.
Number 2. I have been practicing observing the lost mind. I still focus. Sometimes, it feels like I have the knower mind being separated from thought. However, I mostly focus and feel tight in my head and my face, especially in the beginning of my practice. In daily life, I observe thoughts and bodily movements, and I still focus. Is my practice on the right track, Venerable Master?
You are. Good that you know you still focus. You know yourself. Good. Why does it focus? Because it wants to be good and to practice. Just know it. When the desire ceases, it will no longer focus. Relax your mind. Don't try too hard. If you try too hard, you will still be focusing, and will become stuck in focusing. Try moving. Turn left and right. Number 2. Do you hear what I said? Is the picture freezing? That's why he is very still. Not moving at all. Number 3 first, then.
Number 3. I submitted my homework last year's. At that time, my mind collapsed and I couldn't grasp the practice principle. Luangpu advised me to practice by increasing my samadhi and I would be able to find myself. So, I practiced formal meditation for about 6 months, and after that I could see the body and mind separate out. Currently, I've found that my mind drowns in past memories, sanya, and that there are only mental suffering and memories, sanya, that arise. I can only see suffering and can't pull my mind out of this realm. Please kindly give me advice, Venerable Master.
No need to pull it. If we know the state the mind is stuck in, then just know it. Then, we will be equanimous. No phenomenon is permanent. Not even the state we are focusing on. If we don't put effort to focus further, soon it will cease. No phenomenon can stay the same forever. Practice to observe them. Your practice is good. Your mind is much better than before. Do you feel that now it is like you can awaken more and more? Good. Keep practicing. When the body moves, feel it. When the mind moves, feel it. Right now, the mind wanders out to think. Know that the mind has wandered out to think. However, the mind may be, just know it as it is. Now, you are focusing. Don't focus the mind to be still. Focusing is tiring for nothing. It's a waste of time. No benefit at all. You just trouble yourself. And the correct samadhi will not arise. If you focus like this, it's stressful. Practice in a relaxed manner. Keep practicing regularly. Your practice is good. Practice more. Number 4.
Number 4. I practice formal meditation by chanting a mantra. I have the intention to keep the precepts. I practice walking meditation and listen to Dharma. I can't do sitting meditation because when I do so, I will focus, my eyes will close, my body will sway back and forth and I won't be aware of it. It's as if I abandon my body. Generally, I have some awareness. Sometimes, I can separate body and mind. I practice to recognize the 3 characteristics of the body in the aspect of suffering, dukkha. Then, my mind will be calm and down. I would like to know if I am practicing correctly, Venerable Master.
Correct. Practice more. You practice correctly, so keep practicing regularly. When it's time to rest, rest. When it's time to cultivate wisdom, observe the 3 characteristics. Your mental power is not strong enough. So, practice regularly so that you can accumulate the mental power to become stronger. Right now, your mental power is not enough. Keep practicing. Don't stress yourself out. The mind will be energized by itself. Number 2. You focus a lot. Just be aware of it. Keep moving. Don't sit still. Otherwise, you will get stuck in focusing. Sweep the floor, mop the floor. Do some chores. Keep moving. Then, observe the body moving. Allow the mind to feel the body moving repeatedly, in a relaxed manner. This will mend the focusing. You are stuck in focusing. So practice by moving your body and the focusing will be mended. Number 5.
Number 5. Last year Luangpu told me to observe my body as my samadhi wasn't strong enough and my senses were externally oriented. Therefore, during the day, I meditate in the lotus pose for about an hour. In the evening, I chant a mantra and practice sitting meditation in total for 1 hour. At the beginning, I see the body breathing, then I see that the in-breath is shorter than the out-breath, and then, the breath will become subtler. Then, I will begin to see pain in the body. If I continue to sit, the pain will get stronger and I will see stress and displeasure. I see the mind struggling inside. I feel that I can't get away from suffering. Please kindly give me advice on how I should practice further, Venerable Master.
Practice more. From what you told me, you are practicing correctly. Keep practicing. Don't let the mind get stuck in stillness and drowsiness. You have the habit of inclining the mind to be drowsy. Feel it. Wake yourself up. When doing sitting meditation, don't let the mind get drowsy. It's a waste of time. Now open your eyes. Do you notice that earlier the mind had delusion? It was dull. When you practice sitting meditation, if the mind is with delusion, then don't continue. Get moving, or else you continue to sit with delusion, and then just be aware of the delusion, and be aware that the mind is dull. Then, the delusion will fall away. The good mind is just like the mind it is now. The mind now is the good mind. Now, the mind is not good. It is going deep inside, and getting stuck in stillness and emptiness. So, wake yourself up. Wake yourself up. The mind now. Can you feel that it's joyful? Do you feel it's bright, joyful, calm, proficient and energized? We don't want the dull mind. That is wrong samadhi, miccha samadhi. When we practice sitting meditation, if delusion arises, just know that the delusion has arisen. That is the wrong samadhi, miccha samadhi. For the right samadhi, samma samadhi, the mind must be wholesome, the awakened, joyful, knower mind. Do you now feel that? It's relaxed, light, malleable, wieldy, proficient. Not inert, not dull. The wholesome mind is like this. Therefore, don't keep on practicing sitting meditation, till such time the mind becomes unwholesome. It's a waste of time. The mind is used to it. Now the mind goes back to being unwholesome again. Now, do you feel this? It's joyful. When the mind is like this, we practice and it gets energized, after which we practice to observe the aggregates. Then, we will see that there is no us anywhere. Wherever you look, there is no us. The mind has wandered out. Do you see that? Therefore, train the mind to be skillfully rooted in awareness. When your samadhi is good, we will not be lost in the world of thoughts and dreams. The mind will be the awakened, joyful knower. Then, observe the body and the mind at work. We will see that there is no us anywhere. Keep practicing in this manner. This is good. Number 6.
Number 6. I submitted my homework at Buraparam Temple. Luangpu said my practice was lagging. I then just understood and have put your advice into practice for 3 years. Every day, I practice formal meditation by chanting a mantra and practicing sitting meditation for 1 to 2 hours. I can see the mind wander out to think by itself. I see that the body is like a cave with the mind dwelling inside. During the day, I would listen to Luangpu's Dhamma talks and practice awareness. Once in a while I would see mindfulness arise by itself. While sleeping, I see my mind wake up to see my body sleeping and snoring. I see that the body is an outside thing. I see that the mind is uncontrollable and it escapes to think by itself. Do I practice correctly? Please kindly give me the suitable meditation, Venerable Master.
Correct. Your meditation is suitable already. If we practice and we progress, that's good. However, your mind now is stuck in something. Do you feel it? There is this thing that's still and hiding. Kill it. Don't keep it. Let it demonstrate the three characteristics, just like other phenomena. To intend to cover up the stillness is a waste of time. Other phenomena demonstrate the three characteristics, all except this one, which remains still like that. Allow it to move. Practice mindfulness and be aware of it. And when it's time, then practice calmness meditation, alternately. In meditation practice, we can't neglect calmness samadhi. Otherwise the defilement of insight will fool us. Good. When you bowed to pay respect to me, when you bow. Your mind is correct. It's the one that knows and is awakened and joyful, without intention to make it happen. Now, you intentionally do it. Be aware of this. When we do it intentionally, it's a waste of time. Number 7.
Number 7. 2 years ago, Luangpu said my mind was often advised me to be aware of it. Basically, I'm restless with strong lust and anger. I get stressed easily. For the meditation object, I feel the body breathing and moving, and while doing so, I practice to be aware when the mind escapes to think and also to be aware of the reason behind. I have chanda, wholesome will, to stay with the meditation object longer. When I'm near teachers, my mind will be rooted in awareness easily. When I'm far away from teachers, my mental power deteriorates and my mind wanders out, succumbing to defilements. The mind still struggles and is not equanimous. I have the desire for good states. I still need to use thoughts to lead by thinking that the mind is not us. We can't control it. Please kindly advise, Venerable Master.
Your practice is good. To think the mind is not us, to lead the mind, can help bring about samadhi. To think or contemplate is samatha or calmness samadhi. That's good. You are much better. Good. Are you aware that you're better? You practice correctly and practice well. Therefore, practice regularly. Be the fourth kind. Practice correctly and diligently. The third kind, practice correctly but lazily, is no good. Number 6 is still stuck in focusing. The mind has the habit of getting stuck in focusing. Number 5. Do you notice, when you do sitting meditation, you can see the mind operating inside? If the mind has this level of samadhi, we can cultivate wisdom while in the samadhi. We can see the mind change and operate on its own. So we can cultivate wisdom at this stage. When we exit the samadhi, we then cultivate wisdom by observing the body. When we do sitting meditation, our mind will be powerful enough so that we can observe phenomena. Can you see that the mind operates on its own? To operate on its own means we see anatta, non-self, uncontrollable. However, we can't cultivate wisdom all the time. We need to also practice calmness meditation. If we cultivate wisdom persistently, the mind will be restless. When we cultivate wisdom, if we don't have enough samadhi, the mind will become restless immediately. Number 7, you are lost now. Number 8.
Number 8. I've been learning with Luangpu for 12 years. I do walking meditation 1 hour a day and I also do sitting meditation and chanting mantra. During the day, I chant Buddha Met Tung Jit Tong Mama. 3 years ago, you said my mind wasn't equanimous. Currently, I think my anger has reduced. I have noticed that I have a big ego. While doing walking meditation, I'm lost in thought sometimes, and after a short while being lost in thought, I will see the body walking and the mind as the knower. During the day, my mind is mostly still, so I think I'm stuck in stillness. I'm not sure if I understand correctly, Venerable Master.
Correct. Practice further. Your practice is good. You've made good progress. As you can practice correctly, you need to practice more diligently every day. Good. Number 2, do the housework. You can't just practice sitting meditation. Otherwise, You will get stuck.